Well, that's a good setup for my next question, which is, why are there so many religions, and what purpose do they serve?
Wow. Well, I'm writing a new book. I didn't cue you up for this, but it's a great cue up for my next book. But I'm writing a book that's just about this, because right now, we have these new atheists, right? Mm-hmm. The Dawkins and the Hitchens and the Harrises and all these people who are saying that religion is the cause of evil, and that since religion's doctrine is patently not true, therefore there is no God. In other words, since Moses didn't part the Red Sea, there's no God. It's a very simplistic kind of message.
Right.
On the other hand, we have people who go, I know it's a circular reason. How do I know God exists? Because the Bible tells me so. Right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't fly either.
Right.
And so we're left with these two extremes, like you and I talked about earlier. And neither one of them is an avenue to understanding. So what I propose, and it's based on my life, and it's based on my study of theology, but it's based on both my intellect and my experience, is that religion is actually the bottom part of a reception pyramid, if you will. That it begins with faith. And faith is not the belief in things unknowable, and it's not the acceptance of a doctrine somebody else forced upon you. That's not what faith is. Faith is your orientation towards the world. It's your way of knowing existence. It's an ontological kind of knowing. And so you can have faith that says that people are essentially bad, and if you turn your back on them for 1 minute, they'll take advantage of you, so I'll get mine first. That's a faith orientation. And that's based on experience. You can have a faith orientation that says, I know that I'm connected to an eternal source of consciousness, which desires my growth and desires my return, and desires and wants to share in a loving relationship with me. And I know that since that's in me, it must be in the other 6 billion human beings that exist on this planet, and it's probably in the dirt and in the stars as well. That's a faith statement, and that's based on a knowing. That's you get up out of bed in the morning with that. You create that. From that faith principle, then you start to create beliefs. And I say, well, if that's the case, then there must be some kind of reception that happens between that source and myself. There must be some kind of knowledge transfer, if you will, from that eternal source to me as a limited, non-eternal being that is comprehensible, with the knowledge that it's going to be distorted through the filter of my limitations. Right? Those become some kind of revealed truths that mystics and sages teach to the world. Those get deposited then into a pot of religion that says, okay, let's collect these things, let's put a practice around them so that we can remind ourselves of these eternal truths. And so the religion's the bottom of it, and unfortunately we tend to think of it the other way. We think religion is the source of our beliefs, which leads to our faith. And when that's the case, you're standing on the head of a pin with very little base below you, because you're taking things that other people have given you that have been distorted through human beings, that have been concretized and systematized, usually by men, often for purposes of control. And religions are man-made things. God doesn't make religions; we do.
Right.
God made us. God made us. We make religions.
And if the universe is continually expanding, which it is, why would we want to stay with something that's basically yesterday's bread? Why not the direct connection?
Well, some of yesterday's bread is very nourishing, actually. Not all of it. Some of it's pretty stale and wasn't very well made. But some of yesterday's bread, Buddha bakes some pretty good bread,
Well, the principle, well, it depends on what they're characterizing. If they're characterizing a principle, it's very different than a practice that has to be a certain, structure. I think that's the difference. The things that are principles, they're ancient. They're ancient and modern all at the same time.
Yeah, but beautifully said, Jeff. I agree with you. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, the problem is religion is a toolbox, and we end up worshiping our toolboxes. You know, we end up fighting about whose hammer is nicer, and should there be a screwdriver in the toolbox or shouldn't there be, and how many nails should you have in the toolbox? And we forget that the purpose of the toolbox is to build a house that we can live in. You know, and we kind of lose that along the way, and we have wars about it. Or, you know, an analogy that my wife likes is that she says religion is a car. It's simply a vehicle designed to get you somewhere. And, you know, imagine how foolish it is to have a car and then to sit in it and never drive it, you know, because you don't realize that's what you're supposed to do, you know. Religions are vehicles, and they have wonderful things to say and they have terrible things to say. And my perspective is, since I have I think a pretty powerful faith that I can rely on, I can look at the religions and say, oh, this is consistent with it and this isn't. And the things that are consistent with it, I'm going to adopt. The things that aren't consistent, I'm going to analyze. And if I think that they're fatally distorted by people, I'm going to reject them. And that's how religions grow, I think.
Absolutely.